too many organizations have what we call high customer attrition because they lose customers instead of focusing on how to keep customers, or what I like to say, customer retention is the art of keeping good customers. Now, all customers have expectations. You have an expectation when you're a customer. Your kids have an expectation when they're a customer, when they decide to buy something. Where do you think these customer expectations come from? Now, marketing, sure. We set those. We, as an organization, we set people's expectations through the way we communicate to them, through the promises that we make them. And then what happens when we don't live up to those promises?
Punished.
Yeah, we get punished. Dissatisfaction, disenchantment comes in. Right? We can lose customers. Now, in your business, you don't lose customers readily as easily as, say, for instance, a department store or an airline. How many of you ever said, I will never fly XYZ airline again, or I'll never shop at XYZ store, or I'll never go to that beautician again, or I'll never use that barber again? How many of you ever said that? The majority. Very few parents will say that, but when they do, you're dead in the water. And if they do, and what people don't understand, the real risk is when you lose a customer, not only do you lose them for life, but you tend to lose anywhere from 3 to 6 other customers because they will badmouth you. They will talk about you. And in today's world, and I understand Barry talked a bit about that this morning, in today's world where it's so easy to jump on a blog, jump on a Twitter, send emails to everybody you know, send SMSs to everybody you know, and badmouth an organization, people lose customers, and they lose potential customers. And that's the real risk. And the interesting thing about human nature, when you have a great experience with any organization, a restaurant, a department store, you name it, we tend to tell 5, 6, maybe 7 people. When you have a bad experience with an organization, how many people do you think you tend to tell?
Anyone that will listen.
Everyone. And the average in the research study says 19. 19 is the average. And if I'm your customer and you lose me, you're in bad shape because I speak before about 1,500 people a year. And I will name names. I'm not afraid to. Now, customer expectations, they're set by the experiences they have with your products and your services, by the experiences within your industry. So the experience that they might have from a previous school. Or in the case of the organization, if the children have gone to a primary school, public or private, and then come to your school for secondary school, some of those expectations come with them from the private school itself. And most importantly, they just come from life experiences. And this is what frustrates people, because they don't understand, why can so-and-so organization do it this way and you can't? And these can be little things, or these could be big things. But you need to be able to understand it from your customer's perspective. Now, customer expectations, I group them into 4 boxes. There's your core expectations. For those of you who study marketing or psychology, I put Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the core basis. By the way, you should all have the presentation. If you're writing the slides should be in the little book that you got there, so you don't have to write the slides down. Okay. You have what we call non-negotiable needs. These are my wants. These are the things that I must have if I'm going to do business with you. And that's a concept I'd like to leave you with today, is that you may think of those of us with children as parents, but I guarantee you, when we deal with your organization, we think of ourselves as customers. Much the same way that when you go to see your dentist or doctor, you don't think of yourself necessarily as a patient. You're the customer, and you don't want to sit in the waiting room for 15, 20 minutes beyond your schedule. You've got an appointment for 9:20, you expect the doctor or dentist to deal with you at 9:20. Not sit there to 9:40, 9:50, 10 o'clock. Right? So you're the customer. Well, we parents, we are the customers. And it's a slight mental change that you need to make when you're thinking of how you're marketing, how you're setting expectations with your customers. You also have the negotiable needs. These are kind of like what my desires are. You know, I would like certain things. I'd like certain things to be customized for me, to be slightly different from me, where possible. Sometimes you can deliver upon those, sometimes you cannot. You should only deliver upon those if it doesn't impact your profitability, and obviously if the desires do not have a financial, legal, moral, safety impact as well. And then there's the added value. And this is the added value is what drives brand loyalty. It's those little things, those little likes, above and beyond. Now this is generic. You need to think about how you apply this into a business. Now, if we customers have expectations, guess what we're also doing? We are evaluating you against those expectations. So when I work with my clients now, you know, back in 10 years ago, 15 years ago in marketing, we only talked about the 4 P's of marketing. Product, price, place, and promotion, which is your advertising or communications. I now work with my clients and say, well, you still have to have all those in place. There's no doubt about that. You've got to get the basics right. But we also have to understand the experiences that your customers are having. And they are evaluating you on those experiences. The promise and performance. So what do you promise? And how well are you delivering against that? What's the actual performance that you're delivering? People experiences. One of the critical aspects of customer service is when you have inconsistent customer service, you lose customers. And most of the time, these are people related. Now, how many times have you ever gone into, say, Myers, and you get great service on Tuesday, and you go back on Thursday, and you get lousy service because you just dealt with somebody else? That's a people issue. And in a school situation, and I was on the board of an independent school, I worked closely with the principal at the time and said, look, you've got to change your orientation structure and your training structure because you are delivering inconsistent service across this organization. We had 3 campuses, you know, at the time roughly 2,000 students, a faculty of a couple hundred, I think it was, 220 or something, and you would get different experiences depending on who you dealt with. And that's not good because that impacts on the organization. That reflects upon the organization. Process experiences. What are your processes like? I'll give you an example. This is one that drove me crazy. Again, remember, expectations come from experiences with your product and services, experience with the industry, and experiences everywhere else. So this school that my children are going to at the time, every time they went on a trip, come home, the physical trip form would come, the medical clearance form. And every time I've got to get out my Medicare card and write the number down. I've got to get out my Medibank private card and write the number down. I've got to write my phone number down. The school's got my phone number. This is ridiculous. Banks used to do this to us, and we hated it. You open an account over here, you give them all your information, 6 weeks or 6 months later, you want to open another account, you got to give them all your information. It's crazy. Well, the same thing in a school. The processes are not customer friendly, and they're irritating. Why can't you put it on the web? Put it on the internet. Just have people go in and tick, you know, like you do when you download software. I agree or I acknowledge that all information on my form is correct. Tick, submit it. Boom. If you need a hard copy, print it out. Teacher can print it out, take it with them on the trip. They've got all the information there. Don't make the parents fill out 20 times a year or 10 times a year. And then the personal experiences. Again, remember your audience. And I like what Linda said about me being in your target audience. When I went to that school or any school, I am observing the quality, the professionalism of the staff. If I go to a parent information night and the teachers show up late for the appointments, I tell you what, I have no bones about complaining about that. And I will not let that school penalize my children for being late for a class and giving them demerit points or sanctions or something when the teachers can't show up on time. All right? You want your students to show up on time? You've got to have a culture of punctuality within the faculty. Right? You want to teach high tech at your school? Then don't have a presentation night for parents where the equipment doesn't work, or the teachers don't know how to use the equipment, or the teachers haven't done a rehearsal. All that reflects upon the org. The 7 C's of customer service, or what I usually call the 7 C's of customer retention, how do you keep good customers? is a caring attitude. Employees who are caring, friendly, helpful, they can show empathy, they value me as a customer. That's a caring attitude. Customized practices. Where can there be flexibility in applying your policies? Now again, I'm not talking about flexibility when your policies are a safety issue or a legal issue or have huge financial impact. But when I deal with my clients, I teach them the policies should be guidelines. And frontline people, in your case, be your faculty, the administration staff, the year coordinators, the home group mentors, whatever they're called, they should have some flexibility in how they apply policies. What I call competent, we call them CSOs or CCPs. CSO is a customer service officer. I use the term now CCP, a customer contact personnel, because that suits your business more. It's the teacher, it's the home group teacher, it's the administration department, it's the registrar's office, it's the nurse. All of these, how competent are they? How much they understand your system, what works and what doesn't work. And the fourth one I think is the most important, one of the most important, probably the most important, because of all the research that I'm doing, all the research I'm seeing, the number one reason that people buy and the number one reason that people will recommend you is convenience. What's the one thing we don't have enough of in our lives? Every one of us.
Time.
Thank you. I did that a few months ago to a group and someone yelled out sex. I don't want to know. Don't want to know. But time. Yeah. And it's the total time to be involved with an organization, the time commitment. That's why Amazon.com works. Even though you might pay $4, $5, $6 more for a book at Amazon.com, you can do it anytime you want and it arrives here in a week. No wonder the bookstores in Australia are going out of business. Compress cycle times. How can you shorten the cycle time for anything? The registration, the monthly billing system, how quickly you get information out to parents. Here's what I mean by looking at it from a customer standpoint. I've spoken with, 4 or 5 different schools in the last 3 years. And I ask them, how do they distribute their newsletter? And they say, we put it online. We've stopped doing hard copies. Kids never take it home. Parents never got to read it. So we put it online. And I said, so you're expecting the parent who's busy, who doesn't have time in their life to remember once a week to go to your website and read the newsletter? Yeah. I said, well, guess what? Put yourself in the parent's perspective. They don't have time. Turn your newsletter into a newsletter, electronic newsletter, and email it to them if they want. Give them that option. Right? Make it convenient, compress the cycle times. And the last one, and this is what the customer service is all about, it's committed follow-through. And by that I mean when someone has a problem, it could be anything, whoever deals with it. If I have a problem, I call Megan. All right? So you get for sitting in front.
They call me all the time.
I call you all the time. And Megan may not be able to handle that problem. She may need to pass it on to Andrew. Well, Convenient Access says, I only have to call the school once. I've explained my problem to Megan. It's her responsibility to pass all my details to Andrew. If I talk to Andrew on the phone, I don't want to have to repeat what the situation's all about. She's got to fully brief him. But more importantly, a committed follow-through is this now, Megan, because you probably do that. Now, 2 days later, you have to call me back and make sure, was I satisfied? Did Andrew satisfy my needs? Did he solve my problem? Because you touched it, you own it. You can't handball it to Andrew and say, good luck, Andrew. It's over to you, mate. Right? You touch it, you've got to follow through. And that is the difference between a high-quality customer service organization and a mediocre customer service.